Welcome back, everyone, to our Week 8 coverage of the North American LCS Spring Split. It's a lively day here at the studio. The crowd pumped up, especially for our next match. We've got the crowd tailgating outside, too. Man, it's a beautiful day out for a tailgate. Burgers looking good. Now we're gearing up for our marquee match, and the last time TSM and CLG faced off, they gave us a game for the ages. The team's coaches, Skara and Loco Doco, shared their inside perspective on how the first round played out and what they've done to prepare for round 2.
There's something intangible when you win against your rivals. In terms of how we prepped, we didn't treat them any differently, but we did put in a lot more work.
We prepared throughout the week, and then we finalized it the days before. We spent more time for TSM.
A lot of fans are hyped up for this one, and with good cause.
One of the reasons why the community has hyped it up so much is because these are the top 2 teams right now.
There was a lot more pressure, definitely, for people, and it was visibly felt. And that's kind of the job of the coach, right? To maintain the emotional or the mental state of the players. And at that time, I'm pretty sure I didn't do a great job of doing it.
Some people were a bit nervous. The mood was a bit more serious than most of the time.
We're playing something that we were pretty comfortable on, with the X factor being that Dyrus was on Sion, and we went and we did a 1v2. So it was really weird because Sion's really, really good at 1v2.
Jad, it's going to be a Sion on Lysandra.
We were going to be in trouble if we didn't play the 1v2 well.
Oh, it could be first blood for Double Lift. A few more shots, they're under the turret, and he does get the kill.
Fortunately, we got a solo kill on Sion, which shouldn't happen in my opinion.
We're not too fazed by it because, to be honest, Dyrus dies a lot, especially in 2v1 scenario. So we're just like, you know what, it's just part of the game.
We were able to go out of the gate strong with a pretty good / even mid early game. Smithy got caught initiating a T-fight, and we barely came out ahead.
Don't know if they fully wanted that one. Smithy got blown up immediately, and Double Lift is kind of hanging on the backside, missing a rocket there. Link almost getting out of this with a boomerang just on the edge. He does. Double Lift way too close to the fight.
Zion's able to jump in, get a really good ult, and after that we lost the fight and we have to just run. CLG is able to gain map pressure and they're going to be able to control the map until we res.
We really took off toward the mid game to really back TSM into a wall.
It is so difficult for TSM now.
They look to take Baron completely uncontested.
So I was watching with Hotshot and Reggie. At first we were making fun of Hotshot, how great he's going to look with wing care, and then we were like, oh shit, we might actually lose this.
Signs up! I'm going on this? Yeah, go.
Go. You're done.
What the hell? I can't move. Keep going. Turn on.
We were really, really far ahead. I think we had a 4 or 5k lead. It's pretty significant. So we're sitting on 4 dragons. We have complete vision control. We have the perfect dragon timer. As they're forced to walk into us, we decide to meet them halfway.
Me and Reggie were really nervous. We thought we lost the game at that point.
It was just a breakdown in communication, which caused a very rushed initiations.
Kill Lysandra. Just kill Lysandra. Liz. Nice.
And Torrent's able to get the perfect EQ knockup on Lysandra, and he's not able to Zanya right after his ult. I was like, oh shit, we might still win. The dream lives on.
There were a lot of different parts of that game where we messed up, and that was just one of them.
For CLG, it can be the 5th dragon, so they really want it, and we really want to deny it, because once you get 5 dragons, it's really hard to win the game. I knew the moment Pearson got the charm on Smithy that we won that fight.
The ultimate to go in, Smithy flashes out.
Zion comes in as Mega Gnar, but there's such a big distance between him and his team. And after that, we just collapsed on the rest of their team.
Where's the DPS coming from? Link now enters the fight. There's the Zanyas. Do they have the focus now to take him out? He goes down. Double Lift somehow in the middle of the fight again, and he goes down. Team SoloMid persevere, and they take Gaming.
I think that's the happiest we've been this year. I think everyone was really happy, except for Hotshot.
Even though TSM is a great team, I think they out-teamfight us a lot. I felt like that was more our game to lose when it happened. This week, we'll be coming in as the underdogs, TSM just won IEM Katowice, and unofficially, they are the world champions right now.
The difference between the top competitors are paper thin. That slight edge you have on people on stage, it can be gigantic.
And both of those coaches there demonstrating some well thought out reasons as to why they should have won or how they played. Do you guys believe that either team has the advantage when it comes to their coaching staff?
So we also had the interview earlier today with Loco on the desk where he said their answer to CLG's dominating early game is to play the early game better. I do think that's a good plan.
It's not
However,
wrong.
I don't think it's going to be that easy.
No.
And I am going to have to give the edge to CLG in this one. I think that they already have the edge. They have the ability to pull off a win in pick bans, or an advantage in pick bans. Plus, their early game, it goes without saying, is the best in North American LCS right now. And perhaps my boldest prediction, I think that Doublelift is not going to get caught out of position in the late game and throw the game for the team.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to have to go with the old team, CLG in this one, even though I love the guys on both squads.
All right, well, I didn't even have to put him on the spot to get all the information out of him, so I'm going to put you on the spot, though, now, Zyrene, both your opinion on the coaching staff, but as well as your predictions for this game.
I don't think there's too much of a difference in terms of coaching staff and what they're bringing to the squads. I think they're both the top coaches in the LCS here, and there really isn't much difference between them in terms of what they bring to the team. They bring little different things, but in terms of skill level, I think they're the same. In terms of team, I give it to CLG today for multiple reasons. One, every time TSM has lost this season, Dyrus has the worst scoreline on his team. 0-6-0, 2-7-7, while everybody else is running double-digit kills or assists. His Rumble game was 1-6-5. These are just really big pain points for TSM up against Zion Spartan, who's just showing crazy skill on CLG, even in their game against TSM. 5-man Gnar ultis. The follow-up just needs to be there, and I think CLG have kind of honed that over time in the break. Another thing, too, is even if you lane swap it, Doublelift and Afromu are a crazy bottom lane that gives you a ton of aggression in lane. That's why I give them the edge here today.
Oh, and they're out for revenge, so they've definitely got some blood boiling in their veins.
I just want to throw this in, too. I kind of live in a fantasy world where CLG wins this, and they're 1-1, and then we get to have a tiebreaker and see this matchup a third time this season.
There it is. That's the dream, right? Well, right now on lolesports.com, 65% of our fans are calling this one for TSM, so there you go. There's the counterpoint to our two analysts here on the desk. I'll be excited now. I'll be very much excited to see how this game turns out at the end of it. Now, we know you guys are fired up for this match, so we're going to send it over to the caster desk to get the game underway.
Thank you very much, Dash. And for this game, it is huge. So we have called in some backup. Joining us on the desk is David, none other than The Freak, Turley.
The Freak. I added an extra name. I like it.
Yeah, well, you just got a conjunction.
Okay. Is that a conjunction?
It might be.
Sure.
I'll do. What's your function?
Guys, motion.
TSM.
All right, enough chit chat.
That's our function.
Let's get to the action. It's time for a rivalry. There you go. That's older than LCS itself. Team SoloMid versus Counter Logic Gaming.
Yeah, and honestly, this split is the closest these two teams have been to the top two teams pretty much in 4 years. So it's a matchup that fans get really excited for, and it's so far lived up to their hype. We got that whole video in their last meeting. CLG were nearly perfect for the first 30 minutes of the game. But then a few key team fights allowed TSM to retake the lead, and TSM have shown that they know how to close out the big games.
That's right, and both of these teams are tenacious, and in such a heated rivalry, players always find a little more in the tank. But beyond the two teams' history, this is an important game for shaping the NALCS leaderboards.
That's exactly right, Riv. Right now, these teams are tied for first place in the standings, but keep in mind, C9 is one game behind them to take away that playoff bye. So these guys are very, very close to staying in the top, moving down a little bit here. TSM are also 1-0 against CLG in this split, as Zyrene was talking about, so holding a tiebreaker if TSM wins 2-0 against CLG on the split almost guarantees them that bye.
And right now, both teams control their own destinies. Win your remaining games, and you secure a top seed heading into the playoffs. Sounds easy, right, guys?
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Win 3 games in a row on the LCS, no big deal.
All right, so let's get into the match with a quick roster rundown. On the blue side, it's Team SoloMid. That's Dyrus in the top lane, Santorin in the jungle, Bjergsen in mid, Wild Turtle at AD carry, and Lustboy at support.
And on the red side, it is Counter Logic Gaming. Zion Spartan, the Juggernaut in the top lane, Smithy in the jungle, Link in mid, Doublelift on AD carry, and Afromu on support.
Well, if they don't have enough in the tank already, they're going to feel the floor shaking from the crowd being so hyped up for this game. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I feel like this game also snuck up on a lot of people because we had IM Katowice that off week, but this one's arguably more important than their first matchup, Riv.
All right, so we are into picks and bans. You can see Dyrus and Aframu staring face to face there on the split. Let's get this one underway. Hecarim is going to be our first ban out. What are you guys actually expecting to see on this list?
I wonder because it's weird because there's some things that are contested and some things not. Hecarim makes a lot of sense where it's more of a Zion Spartan, that carry sort. Annie and Sivir is the big bot lane that's so good for Team SoloMid. They either play split push style where they have like Lulu Lucian, or they play a hardcore team fight with Annie Sivir. And it looks like CLG is denying that team fight style from SoloMid.
Yeah, I think the Sivir is one of Wild Turtle's best champions, and it's honestly what was the true carry in the initial victory Team SoloMid had over Counterlogic Gaming.
That's right.
As well as one of TSM's most effective picks at IM Katowice. One of the best bans I actually can think of against TSM is Sivir.
Oh, that's going to go away. Sion, that's interesting. That's actually a very good Dyrus champion. It even does things when you die with it, considering how much Loco Doco was talking about Dyrus here. But still, unstoppable Juggernaut Sion. He's pulled 2 bans here so far, and the Lulu right off the bat. I think it has most likely Lust Boy, which now gives TSM a good laning phase if they 2-on-2 CLG.
I mean, I feel like that's also just a massive flex pick. We did see Dyrus playing that in the top lane on multiple occasions, and it opens up some protect carry strategies. In my opinion, Lulu's one of the most versatile and effective picks, 2 first pick in League of Legends right now.
Yep. Absolutely, and it would work on CLG in the same vein. You give Link that in the mid lane, he can support Zion Spartan or Double Lift to go crazy. So now you got to go for the next couple of rounds. You got to ask, with Maokai off the table then, is Rek'Sai the big pick you go for here, the big all-important jungler?
Yeah.
And it is, plus a disengaging support for Aframu.
Seen that first Rek'Sai come in today. Smithy is going to be locking that one in. And Aframu onto Janna. Interesting they don't show too much, but Smithy gets completely what he wants there.
We've seen a lot of discussion amongst Team SoloMid as well about whether or not they want to play mid-game team compositions or late-game team compositions. And typically when everything has been on the line in the past, they'll default more to the late-game comps. Yesterday they had a mid-game comp they threw in the Mundo, which really just eviscerated whatever late-game chance they would have.
That's true.
And I want to see what direction they take here against CLG, who's picked already some really strong mid-game champions in Janna and Rek'Sai.
Well, we did say a little bit that Dyrus tends to go down in the top lane. Even Loco mentioned that. So Lulu's still one of those champions you can offer the ult and offer a lot more, even if you go down a bunch of times. Seeing what else they'll round out the comp with, we saw a great Sejuani from St. Vicious last game. Santorin may actually try his hand at this.
This is now very interesting from Team SoloMid. The lane gank power now with the Thresh. I like the fact they showed the Lulu, but then picked up Thresh. Janna's such a passive laner. It allows Thresh to fish for hooks, fish for flays, fish for offensive plays. Again, I keep thinking of the 2-on-2 down here for Wild Turtle and Lustboy. This support sets them up for a lot of ways to try to bully around Aframu and Double Lift. I have high hopes for the TSM duo lane down here, but CLG, of course, to make their own picks. Their duo lane is lauded as one of the best in the region for a reason. I want to see if maybe we see the Kalista coming in here just for more hard carry power.
Only 1 tank pick so far on Santorin. He's an option open for Double Lift and what he wants to kind of go here and stay safe, as well as Wild Turtle. Only Sivir was banned out. So with this, we'll probably see that 80 carry coming in. The round out for Link to be in the mid lane, as CLG likes to go on the purple side picks.
This is where CLG picks the direction of their team comp.
Yeah.
Honestly. Getting away Jinx is really interesting because it takes away some of the synergy they could have with a top lane or mid lane Lulu, but it also makes them a little bit more vulnerable to Sejuani Thresh. It's not the greatest skill shot reliant champion. That's like a denial pick that doesn't quite yet fit in with CLG's overall team comp.
Well, the question is, can CLG disengage properly? If Double Lift doesn't die, you win the team fight almost outright with Ken and Jinx just belting out damage in a 5-on-5. Again, we talked about TSM as one of their biggest strengths being these late-game team-fighting sort of teams, and CLG happy to play that style themselves. Double Lift getting farm and blowing people up.
I say the Blanc is pretty good against Kennen as well, if that's going to be what it is. Zed's still on the board for for Bjergsen and the Lust Boy lock-in. And that Corki for Wild Turtle can still put out some numbers on that one for himself.
TSM wants to make sure they keep their damage diversified here.
Yeah.
If they're going to do the mid lane Zed, I feel like Lucian would have been a better synergistic pick with
Been seeing that a bit
Lulu.
more.
But as far as the overall team comp goes, this really pigeonholes TSM into that mid game. They need Bjergsen to get going on Zed, get split push, edge, but because they don't have Lulu with a very heavy attack base AD carry, it does have, you know, about a 40-minute window where they have to be able to win the game.
It does, but as you mentioned them diversifying their damage output, all of these champions spike so incredibly hard. CLG, it'll almost be a reverse of the last time these guys fought, where CLG owned the map for 35 minutes, and then TSM finally found the team and turned it around. Well, TSM probably owns this game for the first long while here, and CLG has to find their ways in. Just because of Bjergsen's typical power in the mid lane, the fact that I really, really like TSM's dual lane in a heads-up 2-on-2.
5 seconds for this pick. It'll see if we have a flex or not. I mean, there are definitely elements in each of these team compositions that speak to that, but like a Rek'Sai versus Sejuani, Xmithy will be able to put his imprint on the game as well. Like, both of these guys are going for fairly similar power spike games. Like, they will be hitting their power levels in somewhat similar ways. Different lanes will have different power, but it's going to be a game of give and take. There's no clear this team totally dominates in the late game, in my opinion.
That's what I'd like to see. Also, we see Bjergsen usually getting solo kills in the mid lane. I think Link will be able to stave those off and secure himself from that early aggression. We'll see if Santorin or Xmithy have to say anything about it. The teams, they have locked the comps in here. Do we see a lane swap quickly favoring anybody? Usually we'll see the Corki kind of put into that lane swap initially.
I mean, as far as lane swapping and getting your support out of the lane, in terms of AD carry solo freezes, Thresh makes so many more plays than Ajana does, and I really want to see if Lustboy can make these kinds of aggressive hook plays and upset the various lanes.
Loco waiting for Skara.
All right.
There we go. Coaches of the top 2 teams in the North American LCS right there.
That's right. Previously players of the LCS right there.
True.
So...
Loco was never
didn't play in the LCS. He did.
It,
They both played
in pro leagues.
Yes.
For sure.
Absolutely. So right now on LOLesports.com, the fans are leaning towards Team SoloMid, but keep updating your vote throughout the match. Tweet at LOLesports using either the hashtag TSMWin or hashtag CLGWin. And we'll be tallying those votes up through the game. Both have played, though. We'll just go with that.
Yep.
Which one's louder? Pretty resounding TSM.
I think we're just used to hearing it, so we pick it out of the crowd easier.
That could be the case. We can see that.
Well, we are afoot, ladies and gentlemen. Team SoloMid on the blue side, counter Logic Gaming in red. Winner is first place in the North American LCS at the end of Week 8 here. And has a chance to prove that they are the most fearsome entity in North America.
And Riven Freak, you guys were talking a bit about lane swaps earlier. CLG has been the lane swap masters of the NALCS. Level 1s as well have been somewhat contentious for TSM. You've heard them say, why do we do the same level 1 every game? Well, it's because they save different level 1s for some of their more difficult opposition. And Dyrus went on a bit of a rogue mission to get that board. Oh, is Link going to scout that with the Q? Oh my goodness. Whew. Oh, that would have been a dead Dyrus.
That is some good prep work by CLG to kind of see the counter invade rules that TSM goes for. But all in all, TSM with a good defensive ward as well knows about the CLG invade path, plus the wards themselves going down. Really, everyone kind of understands what vision was given to the other team.
Yep.
Well, TSM has done something that you rarely see done. As far as looking at CLG's jungle, they have wards on both of the standard starting camps, Gromp and Krugs. They should know exactly where where Xmithy starts right here. Since they have wards on both those things, since they're on their own red side jungle, they should know that this blue is getting stolen away.
What's interesting here is the fact that TSM, though, have sort of preempted the entire lane swap game. They expect the swap to happen and not get seen. They have sent Wild Turtle up there solo, but he can't freeze this because Zion Spartan's going to be right there in front of him.
Yeah,
it does actually allow a greedy start, though, for CLG. They get a camp with, I believe their top laner is.
It's going to be some good damage onto Link. He'll have to chug pretty much everything he has in the tank. Get himself back up to healthy. Level 1, it won't take too long. He's got to be careful. Aphromoo with the pressure towards the mid lane here. Double Lift has just approached the bottom lane to start farming as well. So now that we get things going, we know it's already going to be an action-packed game.
Very curious how the lanes actually were set up, since the supports both teams expecting the lane swap. The supports were roaming at basically the start of the game. You got to see that, hey, guess what? Thresh does that better than Janna. And Lesboy now saying, okay, well, let's bully Zion Spartan back out of this lane. 2-on-1 the Kennen.
Yeah,
being a very gold farming champion, that's going to be important for them.
But what's interesting about this is neither of the 2v1 quote lanes are actually freezing. And because both the supports roam mid lane at the start of the match, there's not very heavy denial going down to either of these top laners. I'd say it's a bit of a respect move here by both teams, knowing that they know how to react to the lane swaps and really just playing into that mid lane matchup more than anything.
Well, it's going to make an even bigger impact when either team does something wrong if they're pretty much trying to mirror each other here. Right now, Santorin already to the top side,
it's a level 3 Kennen. Hard to dive if he uses his E properly.
Yes.
Especially Sejuani, not the most fantastic early game turret dive, but they're going to be going for this Zion. Let's see if they can get him down.
The top pulls aggro. Zion Spartan going to be taking a whole bunch of damage. Let's sitting there to hold all the damage, and first blood goes to Wild Turtle.
They did it just right. As far as the aggro swapping, you want your support to get the first tag and sit back because he does the lowest amount of damage. He takes the turret shots, they get the kill down, and Dyrus backs away. It's a bit of a role swap. TSM says Dyrus usually dies in 1v2s. Dyrus is the one who plays this one safe. Zion Spartan plays it aggressively, is unable to outplay, and it gives TSM first blood.
Yeah, really nice play by TSM. Zion Spartan saw it coming, chose to leech the experience and teleport back in. Okay, he gets 2 more waves of XP, but he teleports back in, now summonerless. And you gotta wonder if that's gonna be worth it after all. With Dyrus zoning himself out, he's in level 2. CLG will get this bottom turret at 4.5 minutes once they bounce the wave.
And that's actually the big trade. It's not always, it's a really counterintuitive thing, but it's not always the best decision to not die in a turret dive situation. Because even though Zion Spartan gave up first blood, gave money to Wild Turtle, he got substantially more CS, substantially more experience, and he also saved turret damage. All the time TSM spent killing Zion Spartan was not time spent killing the turret. Therefore, CLG vastly beats out TSM in turret pushing. Zion's turret took almost no damage, and it's not like it's going to be taking much damage anytime soon either.
He knows how to play that situation. We've heard him before. It is a privilege to be able to get CS up there. So when he can, he tries to get it in his pocket. Bjergsen here, nice charm from Link. With the trade, the trade back is not the advantage for him. Bjergsen knows that it's going to be a very, very big skill matchup here in the mid lane.
And the mid lane matchup definitely going to be an interesting one to watch. A small minion lead for Bjergsen so far. You saw that Link went in with a flask just at the very start, expecting to take all this damage. He's gotten a Doran's blade or Doran's ring for himself now, but it's just kind of a push back and forth, pretty much equal here. What I actually want to talk about is the fact that CLG put their duo lane back to the bot lane. That turret's already gone. This could only speak to them wanting an early dragon. Otherwise, you'd go back, equalize the turrets, get Zion back on the 1v1 with the level lead that he had against Dyrus. But that's not the choice.
I mean, there's also a chance they just want Doublelift to have as easy time as possible farming. Corki could absolutely beat Jinx in a standard 2v2 if you look at that support matchups. But as you said, the Dragon as well. If they can get turret and Dragon control early without giving up a gold lead, that'll be a pretty big win by CLG overall.
You guys are both right. Doublelift in his prime farm environment. Dragon going over as well. And Link doesn't even have to leave mid lane. He's able to stay and farm. Great moves here by Counterlogic Gaming. The early rotatos pay off for them quite nicely. Taking a little bit longer, but it's going to. Smiting that one down. They have timer. They also, I thought that was their ward, but they don't have vision of Lustboy and Santorin.
Now it's TSM kind of choosing a cross-map objective. They know CLG has allocated 4/5 of their team to that bottom right corner. So great, let's control the top jungle. Maybe we can get red when it respawns at some point later on. An aggressive pink ward that'll at some point just be cleared, guaranteed in this game, but they'll see Smithy when it does happen. They can track further movements. They can pinch off Zion Spartan, who is flashless right now.
This is going to be very scary for him. Just use that E, so he's got to be careful.
There has been a lot of focus on Zion Spartan in this game from TSM, trying to keep Kennen down early. And it actually doesn't seem to be denying him too heavily. He's about to hit level 6. They only just got that one kill, but it was at a pretty great cost. Turret and Dragon eventually is what fell to them. And Zion doing his best job of surviving all this pressure.
Completely reading the play on Lustboy here. Comes down to the mid lane. Very heady by Zion Spartan to be in position for this. Both teams here with a number of members.
Each team owns their own side of the map. Right side to CLG, left side to TSM. It's typically where the lane swaps and supports and junglers have been roaming up and down.
Yep.
If anything, though, Santorin might be farming a little bit more. Dyrus, if Smithy flashes, he'll trade it.
Yeah. Would have
wanna
had
flash
to be the
follow.
trade.
I believe actually saw Sejuani moving around and said Santorin can help him out.
Yeah.
Let's not go for the flash knockup. I don't think he really had the damage. Link now going to get jumped on. Jumps back, dodges the charm is Bjergsen. Smithy and Aframu are around, but I think the Zed is safe.
Whew. And he burned a ton of stuff from CLG right there. Burned Arialt and Aframu Exhaust for his own summoner spells. I still say that's a worthy trade because it might help them get some pressure back on their own side of the map where they can maybe equalize that turret.
And so TSM slow playing it. CLG, okay, they got the Dragon. They got uncontested farm on double. If he can back, I assume, for a BF sword in the very near future. Team SoloMid taking their time with this one. They let Lustboy roam around the map. They try to upset the mid lane. They try to push down Link. Now the turret will go down. CS is equal on these AD carries. Triforce is going to be half done for Wild Turtle here. No real big problems. And unless there's a severe mistake here, TSM will get this turret at their leisure.
Not too bad. Wild Turtle sitting on 1,500. Looking to be able to finish up maybe that Sheen with his Phage when he goes back. Zion Spartan still there to save the turret. He hasn't accrued too much of a lead now over Dyrus. He's been able to keep himself in this, even though finding pressure along with Zion too.
And when TSM drops this turret, they're going to be in a pretty heavy gold advantage. A lot of this just has to do with who else but Bjergsen getting that advantage in the mid lane. Both teams have actually done a substantial amount of roaming mid lane. Little, not real ganks, but mainly just walk pressure. I wonder if Zion's going to try and stop that turret from going down. It goes down. Does he get anything back?
Smithy's here. Teleport comes in for Dyrus, but there's a Janna not far behind. So will TSM overextend? No ult on Lulu. Lands literally Zion has flash, but is it going to be enough? Trying to run away. 200 health left on him. Smithy forced to run. The rocket's not going to be enough. Lustboy's not enough either. Aframu slows him down.
Woo! By the skin of his chinny chin there. Dyrus with a great help picks on the minion to facilitate that, but Zion Spartan just one step ahead with his life.
Yeah, no kill could end up being pretty critical. That could have absolutely just slingshotted TSM ahead in this match. Not getting that kill down and also having no way of releasing the pressure on mid lane either.
No.
Might mean TSM starts to close in around CLG in this mid game as they approach their big power spike.
And you can see Bjergsen's tendencies here. Whenever he starts to hover that close, he's going for the kills over and over again, and he wants Link dead immediately. See if he gets it anytime soon here. Link is paying all the respects to the damage that Bjergsen's putting out right now. He's going to go grab blue.
Something else I have to mention, though, is Santorin actually keeping up pretty well in CS on Sejuani early on in the game. We just talked about in our last game how well will Saintfish just farm on Sejuani up to his Cinder Hulk as his ultimate, because that's really when Sejuani turns on. And Smithy actually got beat to jungle upgrade items. He hasn't finished his warrior yet. Sejuani is an absolute monster compared to Rek'Sai, almost from here on out.
Absolutely, and I've got to really then watch even more onto Doublelift and the AD carry versus tanks arms race. Not to mention you've got a shield from Thresh, you've got an exhaust. No, sorry, no exhaust, but Dyrus also adding a shield and an ulti as well. The giant front line, the single point of contact here for Santorin. And of course, there are so many ways to disrupt Doublelift as well. If Bjergsen can do something funny, if Lustboy can zone him out, so potentially worrying mid game here.
And one of my favorite evolutions of TSM playstyle throughout this year is the freedom they're giving Santorin to play other stuff. Initially, it was just, okay, you can only play supportive tanks that help Bjergsen. We've seen him games on Nidalee. They're letting him be an early adopter of the tank meta. They're letting him take a little bit more farm. And every time they allow Santorin more freedom, it seems like it improves the team.
And when we interviewed him as well, he was kind of toying around with Nidalee in the jungle before a lot of people were. Dyrus,
oh dear,
he doesn't want to be toying around with this right now. Smithy finding himself a solo kill. Nicely done.
Exactly. Jungle item or not, the lanes got swapped back for TSM. The top left side, the wards all fell down, and Dyrus was left alone. Good job. That flash was burned by Smithy himself not that long ago. Kept track of it. Nice kill.
Very true.
I mean, this is Dyrus's conservative play, not necessarily working out in that context. Trying to hide behind his turret again, but CLG actually just went one step more aggressive. All the while, Zion Spartan's been dying or near dying. He's been getting experience in CS, whereas Dyrus has not been getting those things. And if we look at the gold just at the top laners, it's actually a pretty big edge for Zion Spartan there in the top lane. It's the other lanes that are the advantage for TSM, definitely not the Dire.
And just a fresh level 6 on
Yeah.
so 8 to 6 massive as well. TSM though, again, they allocated bot lane. Zion Spartan has teleport, but there's no backup to make the play down here anyway. TSM just feeling comfortable enough to take this dragon. All said and done, we're at 2 turrets to 2, 1 kills to 1, 1 dragon to 1, basically an equal game if you don't count level.
Oh man.
Okay, you got the
Flash
flash
back up.
Flash that time.
That's right away. That was like on cooldown.
Yep.
Yeah.
On cooldown of death and flash. Almost put him back on the CD.
I mean, and like is to be expected from a TSM versus COG game, we got a really close game on our hands 13 minutes in. They've been able to trade dragons, trade objectives. We've seen some difference in approach between Dyrus and Zion Spartan.
Yep.
Bjergsen is handling Link a little bit well in that mid lane. I'd say that's the main advantage TSM would have right now. But boy, is this game close.
That's the thing. It starts to become apparent who is really the stronger lane out of this one. And we look at Zion Spartan, one of the top laners,
Yeah.
if you will, in North America right now. Then carried on the other side for TSM, it's the mid laner of Bjergsen. The strengths are definitely showing through.
Absolutely. The teams are playing really the ways you expect. Doublelift is back on a light game hyper carry. He may not like Vayne very much, but Jinx seems to be right in that wheelhouse for him. And
Yeah.
great, CLG can go play a carry in the bottom lane. Who's surprised in this one at all? And I think there's a lot of chances for CLG to still keep the plays going well. I want to see if we can get those like charm outplays on Zed ults, things like that. You know, maybe they can stop that single point of crushing Bjergsen from winning the game for TSM.
Yeah, and because of the way the lane swaps worked, the point of power that Bjergsen normally hits once he finishes Blade of the Ruin King can't give the team many advantages. Think to when Bjergsen normally plays Zed. He gets his Blade of the Ruin King, and he split pushes and takes the outer turrets in both lanes.
Immediately.
Those turrets are already gone. If he wants to group up and create turret pressure, he'd have to be in the mid lane, which is now a team fight scenario against a Kennen and a mid-game Rek'Sai. It's not as big an advantage as he would normally be getting at this point in the game. Maybe Bjergsen goes for fights in the jungle, but that would require some really impressive vision control by TSM.
It would, and we'll see if that happens. Of course, with all these outer turrets gone except for the mid lane, so much of the map is available for play. And the question then is, who can make these things happen? Link first want to make a move, hits up Santorin a little bit. Lustboy has a large number of wards peppering that north jungle. Sightstone for Santorin as well. Looks like that red buff that TSM have actually been controlling for most of this game is where they want that pressure to be.
Well, pressure on Dyrus for sure.
Whoa!
Flash,
Right
quick
over the
jump
wall.
on in.
It's going to be a tough one. Wild Growth, a little too much for him just yet with the damage they're able to put out. Zanya's not finished there. Oh, Link, he's still in another charge. Can he pull it back around? He gets the boomerang, but he also goes down himself as Santorin throws down the permafrost. A little bit of bite for Link.
Dyrus doing everything he can to stay in this game early. Triple Doran's ring, going cooldown reduction, stacking as well, because he is a slightly more farm support, hoping to one day be a solo lane Lulu, and the farm is going on to other people on TSM right now. Santorin picking up that kill can create a very scary Sejuani that might be nearly impossible for CLG to cut through later.
And actually took that minor detour for a Sightstone, spends 400 gold that aren't on tank stats, but a kill and assist makes up for that pretty easily. All the farm is getting 75 minions here. Not bad at all for a jungler. So Team SoloMid, they have that frontline. Dyrus, you don't need much more than the Morellonomicon and maybe a death cap for Lulu to reach 80% of her effectiveness anyway. Bjergsen finds the jungle fight.
That's what you're talking about a little bit before, Jat. Bjergsen finally getting his roam on. He's almost able to take down Smithy by himself. And now create pressure.
And that's exactly what happened. They took out Rek'Sai. They knew he couldn't be an initiation threat, and TSM was able to get damage on that mid lane turret. Very interesting match breaking out right now. But TSM taking that slight edge here.
Different game from the first time we saw these two teams played. CLG was on a better run by now. Put TSM a little bit on the ropes. Doesn't seem like TSM has put themselves into any dangerous positions here and have been able to accrue now just about 1,000 gold lead. And with the denial of buffs starting to come in, it's going to start hurting Link pretty good. Also looking at Zion Spartan. A little scary that he didn't go straight for that Zanya. He's piecing together quite a bit, and with Zed on the other team, hopefully he's not pick right there.
It's very strange. It's half a Ryle's and half of a Zhonya's Hourglass. I don't know which one he really wants to complete first. It just depends if, is Bjergsen going to one-shot you or not, or are you going to team fight or not and need the Zhonyas to kind of sit inside that battle without getting popped by everyone else. Wild Turtle and Bjergsen both have so much burst damage threat. Zion might not get a full ultimate off in a team fight if he doesn't finish some of these items for the tank stats. So that question remaining to be answered. Smithy has actually done a very good job of scuttler control. He had taken the one by Dragon not long ago. That'll respawn in time for Dragon. He just got the Baron one as well. So he's got his double sight stone on top of this one, so you're seeing the wards kind of go back and forth. Both these guys really heavily prioritizing getting vision on the map to keep track of all these aggressive plays.
Very vision-centric game, which is why it's only 2 kills to 2, 18 minutes in. And Xmithy really trying to use the mid-game power of Rek'Sai before, in all honesty, the Sejuani may end up taking over if they can get some controlled frontline type fights. And I hate to keep harping back to it, but the gold is very strangely distributed in this game, especially for TSM. Darius is at 4,000 gold. The jungler and both solos on his team are more than 2,000 gold ahead of him. It's 4,000 on Darius and over 6,000 on the other 3 people. Santorin, Bjergsen, and Wild Turtle are all close in farm and gold and will be the 3 threats on this team, not Darius.
Yeah, it's impressive to point how much gold he really is earning. Bjergsen's at 190 CS and is 200 above Santorin. That jungle item, the farm he's getting as well, just doing a whole bunch of work. So a very big tank, to be real. And without Infinity Edge still done for Doublift, whereas this Trinity Force long done for Wild Turtle. There it is. Okay, so I just hear that. Zergreaves there as well. TSM, though, first to Dragon. CLG, again, not willing to fight this.
I'm really interested in if Darius can still pose that utility that comes from Lulu. If he's in the right spots, even being so far behind, he can provide a lot for TSM to get to these fights in the OK. Dragon going over, nicely done.
As far as top laners being behind, you'd much rather have your Lulu behind when he can support carries than a Kennen behind who needs to be in the middle of the fray to be effective.
Well, the choice and pick for Darius on that Lulu from Champion Select had more than one reason for sure. We even heard Loco Doco talking about how he goes down a few times in lane. Doesn't phase him, he knows that dance. As Wild Turtle now starting to roam around at outer turrets are down, he cleans up the CS in the mid lane, which is quite even between the AD carries. Looks like he's going to start spiking towards a Bloodthirster after this Triforce.
Alright, so a very safe build for Wild Turtle. Wants to make sure he can withstand damage from Kennen. And you do expect with Flash, Zion Spartan will reach the back line, and Wild Turtle will have to recoup after taking 600 or so magic damage and getting stunned. So a bit of a more defensive play style from TSM. I mean, you can see that with the tank jungler and the supportive top laner here, really just biding time for Bjergsen to keep wreaking havoc around the map. All 3 outer turrets have been gone for a while, but TSM with 2 dragons in a row means, yeah, you know, they are the team that seems to be owning all the movements around the map. CLG playing second fiddle to them, playing reactor to them almost entirely. And you have an unsafe AD carry in Jinx where trying to push can just leave you hooked.
It's true. It is difficult, though, for TSM to get the pressure up in this game. Smithy has that huge network of tunnels that TSM is trying to demolish. If TSM wants to commit to a push, they leave themselves open to that sneak from Rek'Sai. Killing those 3 tunnels on that side of the map could be very critical. While Rek'Sai was shown down here. And now it might become a bit of a split pushing battle. CLG wants to force TSM into rotations here to maybe find a charm and maybe get Doublift going on some of those resets. Very tactical game we have, TSM versus CLG here.
Rotations come back and forth. Bot lane, tier 2 goes down to half thanks to all that. Santorin at least saw it coming. He was already on his way before Link was attacking.
They gotta run.
TPs are up. There's the Void Rush. Oh, is he gonna try? He's gonna run. I was gonna say, they're gonna try to pinch and hit back, but they are just out of there.
Yeah, not much reason to chase Link. All you're going to do is burn his ulti cooldown and give up pressure on top lane and mid lane here. So TSM identifying not worth all those costs, not certainly worth the benefit as well. And so TSM back to square one here. The aggressive moves by CLG, it does make some progress. The fact that bot tier 2 is down to half is pretty darn good by Counterlogic Gaming and Link making that pressure. And he's even looking for a trap here on the Darius. He's in the fog of war. I wonder if Darius will see this coming.
Yeah, I also wonder if Link would be able to zero him out with Lulu ult and Flash still up.
With Zhonya's first and no magic plan, probably not actually. Link can't even one-shot caster minions right now. At 22 minutes, that's a rare sight.
That's true.
It's carryover from the difficulty he had against Bjergsen in lane.
Didn't get the better of him. 224 to 172 in that lane. We didn't see, other than just in the beginning, the pressure from the junglers and the supports. So they pretty much had their own 1v1 time. Again, stealing the blue away. Not the first time we saw that. That was soloed by Bjergsen last time. and TSM getting more of what they want. Slowly, though, CLG is not allowing them to make a huge impact with these moves. They're staying safe as well.
Yeah, he's putting damage down into Satoran, but I really want to see at the end of this game, like the enemy jungle monsters killed stat here for TSM. It seems like they've gotten like 8 buffs to 3 overall in this game, like the general count here. Red buff, blue buff over and over again seem to be taken away here. Counterlogic Gaming have just routinely seeded the map. It only looks like 1,000 gold difference this entire time, but there's a lot of just vision and pressure differences here. There's like 2 aggressive wards from CLG and like 7 from TSM.
It's true. You can definitely see TSM creeping their vision deeper and deeper into CLG's jungle, which makes it more and more difficult for CLG to give some of this pressure back. But CLG is holding on that second ring of turrets. That's the important one that I feel like if TSM cracks, they may end up winning this game. Or if Jinx gets too far ahead in gold, if he's able to pick up a few kills.
Oh, Valkyrie gets stopped. Not much else happens though. I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
It's all about split push. TSM very much playing 1-3-1 right here. Dyrus on one side, Zed on the other, but that's opening up the gut because they only have 3 people there.
There we go, finally seeing Doublift get to the turrets. Jinx is gonna start tearing those things apart. Tearing apart Lustboy as well, popped up, knocked down. They pick up Xmithy as well, and CLG starts to grab their way back.
The kill went on to Xmithy, and that's actually not ideal for CLG. They need those kills onto Ahri or Jinx. We've seen what a fed Rek'Sai can do in the late game. It's not much, and they really need the late game to be coming in big here because they're going to have to cut through a shielded tank or a shielded assassin.
So then how does CLG cut through these champions? Well, Jinx still only halfway down to the Phantom Dancer, of course. Doublelift's item inventory very full because of the early Vamp Scepter he picked up, I think due to his fear of Zed's damage output, but that delays all these item spikes. He thankfully managed to push a turret down. That was cool, but about 600 gold, 300 gold away from Phantom Dancer, still has to wait on that combined, but Dragon's up, I think before he hits that mark, would have been nice to have 55 crit chance right here.
Could very well be Dragon 3 for TSM. I feel like they still have that pressure advantage. Doublift not hitting the item thresholds quite yet, but Bjergsen, he has. And honestly, with the Morellan, Omicron, and Dyrus, as far as the support of top lane Lulu goes, he's there.
Yep.
He's the banana of tunnels down there for Xmithy in the bottom lane to do whatever he wants. If he has to get there, he can pretty much get anywhere if he needed to. They're in the right spot, though. No Void Rush necessary, as it is down as well.
Such a close game. If anyone can get a pick pre-Dragon here, it could very well turn it. There's teleports up on both sides. The gold is close. There is a Zhonya's Hourglass, at least onto Ahri. So much of this could be whether or not CLG gets a pick or tracking how well Bjergsen can flank. Those are the 2 biggest things I'm going to be watching for if they fight over this Dragon.
Yep, definitely keeping an eye on Santorin's Glacial Prison as well. If he can lock down a good one, they can kill Aphromoo. There's really no disengage for these guys on CLG. Get the wards they need.
Actually starting it with Zion on the flank. They're hoping that TSM comes in so Zion can flank them from the backside, and that's what TSM's doing. They're in the trap.
There they go, big lightning storm comes in, and now it's Xmithy off on the side, gets the death mark on him, flashes the wall. Bjergsen chases, looks like he might get the kill, and he will. Out he goes. 1-for-0 chase on Bjergsen, though Link likely to get this kill. The rocket misses, the charm misses, Bjergsen gets out. Wild Turtle, the center of attention, Monsoon down to the wall, trades back onto Aphromoo, but it's still a team fight. That's more kills for TSM, but it's a red buff Doublift. Flashes a zap, Santorin gets out here. CLG forcing TSM away, but actually loses gold on this one.
How does Bjergsen dodge so many skill shots? Barely escaping that one. The only thing that kept TSM positive in that fight, but they actually fell for CLG's bait right there. Look at us, we're starting the Dragon, but you're stronger than us. Well, that's because Zion Spartan was waiting for your backline in the brush. Now they come back with Rek'Sai. They even these Dragons as long as there's no steal.
Does not look like there will be one. They exit stage right real fast, and CLG mounting their own comeback. I wouldn't even really say a comeback. The back and forth is slightly being won by them, we'll say.
Super close. We knew both these teams had pretty heavy mid-game compositions. And we look at the start of this game. Great flash by Xmithy. Bjergsen has to burn all his stuff on the utility tank right there. But remember, Wild Turtle had to go all the way around the side of this fight, which is one of the reasons CLG was able to chase through so well. But Bjergsen, left, right, back. He dodges every single one. And they end up equalizing the game, 4 kills to 4, 3 turrets to 3, 2 dragons to 2. What else would we expect?
Well, maybe at the end of this one for CLG fans, the scoreline between them will be 1-1. in the regular season. I mean, what a way to set up a potential playoff fight at the very end of it all. But TSM also, I saw some miscommunication at the very end of that fight where Wild Turtle went sort of on the top side of that cliff and like Dyrus like way back there, so was Lust Boy, and like didn't seem like they knew if they wanted to fight or not. Wild Turtle was a casualty of that, gave CLG that kill, gave them that dragon. So now the question is, we're back to a 1,000 gold game.
Yeah.
Basically just having Zion Spartan sit top lane and freeze like forever. The lane is finally pushing out now, but he's been under that tier 2 turret most of this game, acquiring items.
Ready with that teleport to come down and give help if necessary. Really getting the Zanyas is something he needs to do, and he's kind of been focusing on that with this wave clear on the top. All around the map, it is looking good for both teams. This is exactly what we were expecting coming out of this one. It was TSM's game last time, which put the overall to 9-8. It looks pretty even on the boards, 4-4, 2-2. If CLG wins this, they're 9-9 overall all-time record. So they want to get that. They want to even it up just as much as the score is right now. TSM looks to pressure now the top turret here, and they're not uncontested.
Yeah,
Where's
it's
CLG?
time to do Zed split push. They know Doublelift wants to continue to farm a little bit more. Doublelift really wants that Phantom Dancer to go along with his Bloodthirster that he built early to prevent some assassinations. But they might just be trading outer turrets once again. Everything in this game has its equal.
It really does, and actually, even with Zion Spartan trying to freeze the top lane up there, that was the payment for, well, guess what, there's War Control top lane, and TSM shows up unannounced very easily, but CLG already a step ahead themselves. They get their own cross-map objective, just incredibly fun to watch, high-caliber play, 700 gold difference.
TSM one step ahead right here. They cut off CLG during this collapse, but do they have time to actually pressure this mid-turret?
Farm alarm comes in, maybe a flank alarm this time around, though. TSM have to respect Rek'Sai. Wild Turtle does have flash up, but everyone else is missing it here, so TSM afraid to get caught out by a pretty high mobility team of CLG. They can't make a mistake here or they die.
Well, TSM also has to choose his targets accordingly now with 2 Zanyas that he has to keep track of. He can keep track of all the skill shots, so I'm sure it's not going to be too hard for him to keep track of just a few Zanyas being used. This one could get tight real quick. We're starting to approach towards the Baron. This is going to get cleared out, but it'll also draw some attention from Team SoloMid.
Pulling some attention right there, loses a third of his health, even though he's got a good amount of armor items, to be completely fair. He knows Purge targeted him last fight. Dyrus not exactly a huge threat, nor is necessarily Santorin.
At this point, Bjergsen really needs to find damage on a Doublelift.
Yeah, that's pretty much his only target. Hopefully Doublelift doesn't have that shield built up.
This has been such a well-played game, honestly, for the first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We know both teams have been trying to hit these power spikes. Bjergsen with the Blade of the Ruin King trying to get in the split push, but there was nowhere for him to go. Like Smithy kind of kept in track with the tunnels. In the Dragon team fights, CLG gets the flank at just the right moment. It's such a hard game to really pin down who has the advantage and when will they be getting the advantage, because there's individual champions and players that understand when they're weak, but within these team compositions, there are other champions that are getting them through to that point. Rek'Sai, you know, he's the one who's getting Jinx through to that point against Corki. Sejuani, he's the one that maybe will save Zed and Corki later in team fights. It just has to do with how well these teams play the game, outguess each other, and if they can sneak some objectives. That's going down.
And it's going to go to the blue team.
There's the ultimate coming from Link, but he doesn't want to go over the wall. They give that over to TSM. I thought Smithy might have tunneled, but the rest of the team was not ready for an engage. So,
wow.
If the push from Bjergsen wasn't tough enough just a second ago, give Baron up to everybody now.
Sneaking that Baron could be the turning point in this game. A slight lapse in vision by CLG. They had so many Rek'Sai tunnels and wards in their jungle throughout the entirety of this game. They just let it lapse there. The big thing that I think led to that is when CLG traded the bottom turret for the top lane turret, because that meant they didn't have time to move their vision while TSM was responding. And in retrospect, that Baron was the result of 4 or 5 minutes of rotations of TSM. They realized CLG never had time to ward the Baron area,
what they wanted,
and they just went for it.
Yeah, you mentioned 4 or 5 minutes ago. I mean, Zion Spartan, again, freezing top lane all day long, finally punished for that when damage comes in enough that allows TSM to make these aggressive plays. Now it's the East jungle taking control of course, Dragons have 30 seconds, so TSM, being in the driver's seat, gets to move their vision in advance. Watch CLG. Can they ward Dragon back? Answer's likely no. TSM looking to easily pick up Dragon 3 in the next 20 seconds.
And they're starting to get one of the bigger gold leads we've seen this game at, funnily, only 2K. And it's even smaller than that. If if you really calculate it. 10 seconds on Dragon. Xmithy getting pushed out here as Team SoloMid again takes control of this bottom jungle. They'd lost it a little bit, but that's because, as we saw, the focus was towards top and towards Baron. See what they can do here as they push the bottom wave.
Now the split push can really come in huge. Bjergsen can empower an entire wave of minions just by himself. CLG kind of wants to find a team fight, but they would need to get a great initiation by the Kennen to try and get this Baron buff off of TSM. This could be a real turning point in this match.
It's almost too late. Bot lane tier 2, TSM's going to get there first. CLG can't go through this choke down here. Bjergsen's going to get some damage down. Thresh is already in the way. Does CLG really want to force through?
I don't think so.
It's really risky if you do. There's no flank for Kennen. He's with the rest of the team. Turret goes down.
Honestly, it may seem like a lapse by CLG to give up that Baron, but it was just so well prepped by TSM when we think about the way they were rotating and the safety they had in knowing that vision control.
Ooh, Link.
Now it's about CLG trying to hold off that Baron and get turret trades.
Well, TSM got tier 2 turret number 2 off that Baron. The Dragon pretty much always going to be theirs. I don't even know why CLG can it in the first place by doing so.
But now is TSM cut off.
Oh, true.
CLG is going to come down here
Zion
on the
wants
mid.
to get them in the choke. He's hoping to flash in. He goes.
That hook being missed. Slicing Maelstrom goes in. It's going to Lustboy locked up as well as Santorin in the middle. But the back line of damage dealers is still able to do what they need to do. Wiping out Counter Logic Gaming now. Aframu is going to be the next. The rocket misses. Double Lift does have the quick silver sash, but it's already been used, and he can't cleanse the death. Double Lift, come on. He gets out alive. That was Aframu going down in the fray of the fight. Get a little excited. And TSM may actually give chase here. They're definitely going to go for the lanes. Wild Turtle will chase down to make sure death all around the map. He does eventually die. TSM, they're going for the base.
The power of the choke point. Zion Spartan thought he was catching TSM, but he ended up catching CLG themselves. The Sejuani ultimate with the Corki AoE was devastating, and CLG gets completely destroyed. 5-0 ace.
The question is now, what does TSM get out of this one? 2 turrets in the mid lane, and they don't want to risk the fight, even though Double Lift is still dead. No comebacks allowed, TSM. They saw what happened last time around these guys fought, and one misstep cost the game. So this is the engage. Zion Spartan thinks he can go for this one, but TSM's battle lines are so well built.
Yeah, and Rek'Sai's behind kind of cut off. Link there took a huge amount of damage before he was ready, so he could not play his Ahri. That the flank kill by Bjergsen, but then mainly the Sejuani ultimate into the Corki damage destroyed them. There's that mid-game power spike that Corki is still in. Double Lift, because he's built so many defensive items, wasn't quite at that point yet where he can free hit for success. And now, maybe it's too late. 3 dragons and 6,000 gold.
Man, that looked like a really good ultimate from Zion Spartan. You almost can't ask for more as Kennen flashing in.
But that's the problem, is you have a defensive team. You have Bjergsen not getting caught in it. Santorin's a tank. Lustboy's a tank. Dyrus is ults Wild Turtle, who built Bloodthirster second. Nothing's dying there by the basically no Magic Pen Cannon. And Double, I think, didn't even have Phantom Dancer there. Jat, you were talking about the defensive build. Bloodthirster's second item, weirdly, Quicksilver
and
Sash.
then QSS before his Phantom Dancer.
Exactly. So just there isn't damage on that build. CLG not realizing who does more in a fight in that game. Double Lift only now is actually as powerful as Wild Turtle. Only now.
Yeah. Going for that Bloodthirster quite fast as they approach the turrets. Able to take a few more shots when you're doing it.
They have a nice rotation here. They waited long enough. Very risky to wait in the enemy jungle while you have an exposed inhibitor.
Dyrus snuck by, though. He doesn't want to look for the slow just yet. Looks like TSM
now CLG's in a little bit of trouble of getting collapsed on. TSM just wants to stop recalls while Wild Turtle pushes this mid lane.
Well, here's the thing.
They might just let him go. They're gonna.
Despite the 7,000 gold deficit, though, I really think the Phantom Dancer being done shapes the game a little bit here. You've got the Magic Pen finally done for Link, the Phantom Dancer here for Double Lift. He actually deals meaningful damage now, and Santorin, the only guy with a ton of armor. Double Lift commands respect now in teamfights, and with that QSS, can't be a Bjergsen target. How do you reach Double Lift? If CLG actually holds a front line for him, Double can carry this game, but the rest of the team being far ahead with the global gold lead, maybe it's not enough.
Yeah, I mean, Sejuani's a really big guy. I know we can say the only guy with armor, but how does Double Lift hit anyone but Santorin in these fights, especially with Lulu shields? That inhibitor was not long for this world.
But even still, Wild Turtle playing very safe. He knows Charm could ruin his life here, and that will be the inhibitor going down.
I was going to say, if CLG did have a chance to jump in with Ken and get a few picks, it would be at the inhibitor turrets, but unfortunately that fell when none of them were up, so things are only getting harder. They have to watch that one go down as TSM takes a Polaroid, smiling on the way out. And now they're just going to continue to push the lanes. Baron, 20 seconds, and that's just going to be Bjergsen going back to his push.
Exactly. TSM can easily play this game very controlled right now. They actually managed to, on the way out, put wards down in that north jungle. Okay, they can recall, replenish their sight stones, replenish their inventories, come back. If CLG does sweep wards, or even if CLG puts wards down, TSM will know where those got placed. They can sweep them back out in preparation for Baron. There's a very low chance CLG can contest that.
This is their only window to get a little bit of vision down and to maybe even clear out pinks as far as CLG is concerned, but even that window is closing rapidly.
It's hard to do because you have to do it as a team, so you're not even covering that much ground when you're sweeping and placing. It's all just the one area, and hopefully that's where you're going to be fighting.
Yeah, and they're sweeping into Fog of War. They have no idea if TSM's death rushing any of these spots, especially if only Bjergsen shows. Where's the hook? Where's the glacial prison from Sejuani? TSM can't always know where that's coming from.
Wow.
They did get some wards down, but as I said, TSM knows where they're coming in from.
Bjergsen also just finished an Infinity Edge. So if we're talking about being able to QSS,
wow,
at that point it doesn't matter. Because if he hits you a few times on a no armor target, or even a high armor target, Xmithy or Doublelift, two targets that Bjergsen can easily kill. That matchup in the mid lane completely swayed this game in the side of Bjergsen. It started 20 or 30 CS, but as the game has progressed, no one has been able to touch Bjergsen or stop him from farming, and it's really making Link look incredibly far behind.
Yeah, Bjergsen's got more auto attack DPS than Doublelift does right now. If they just sat there right-clicking, Bjergsen would win that, so good luck, Double. But they are now being started out. Great vision control still here. CLG has some defensive wards, but none aggressively enough to stop Baron. Quick, clean kill, no way to stop this. CLG, 15 seconds to Dragon, but I think they just lose their base if they try.
They need to be very fast if they're going to grab that one. CLG getting everything they need on the bottom, but they got to make sure they can still get the base as well.
You're not going to be able to take that by
They're
yourself.
3 away from even 5 dragons here, and losing him would be just too detrimental.
So vision's there, but TSM playing this very smart. Thankful for them that Dragon wasn't at the same time as Baron, because that could have been easily snuck, but 50-second advantage. Q's for the steal, not going to get it. Dragon number 4 now. TSM clears minion waves even faster, plus the Baron buff push, and they have all the tools they need to win this game.
Doublelift does have his build finally, but I just don't think the rest of CLG is at the point where that matters. They need Ken and Ari to be able to provide more threat. Baron buff up. They got to go in almost right now.
This is going to be a tough one. Bjergsen on the front line means he can also zero somebody out and mess with the shadows.
Being down is just devastating. That creates almost no threat onto the backline of TSM. Maybe even expect to dive here. They won't have to. They're just going to kill the turret.
Seems easy so far. QSS and Wild Turtle. Yeah,
Blocking
nice.
the
He
minion.
takes the zap. Double of QSS is down. Link's ulti is down. No QSS on him. So many easy stun targets. Wild Turtle with shields takes that one down. In comes the engage. Smithy forced to run. Santorin just wants the inhibitor first. Lands an AoE slow. And actually Santorin forced out, but it's already Rek'Sai being dead. Junglers 1 for 0. And look at this damage coming out. Wild Turtle exploding some people. And hip goes down. Turtle happy to still stay alive. No! Rocket doesn't quite get him. Summoner heal means that. Link no ulti can't chase. But there's Doublelift. He finally gets one. Can he get any more? Maybe not. Wild Turtle fires in. There's the flay. Doublelift, can he do the damage? The answer is no. The Hex from Dyrus makes Wild Turtle win the fight. 13-5. Down goes the Nexus turrets.
It's almost not even fair because Wild Turtle's got 2 supports helping him out. Doublelift flash the flay, but you can't flash a polymorph, and he loses that duel to Wild Turtle, ending the game.
Almost the same thing from last game. Wild Turtle coming up big around the last fight, and Team SoloMid will take down Counter Logic Gaming.
Huge comeback from TSM from yesterday, dropping that game to gravity, but then moving to 2-0 on the season against Counter Logic Gaming in a very well-played game.
A very convincing game as well. Bjergsen let himself get counterpicked. I don't remember any meaningful mid lane bans in there. Said, yep, here we go. I'm going to play Zed. Link, bring it, essentially. Crushes the guy in lane. Bit of help from Lust Boy, sure. Standard TSM flare there, but Bjergsen creating all the pressure. Oddly enough, only 2, 1, and 3. Just found individual targets to kill, and it then fell down to Wild Turtle, who dominated all game long. Only 1 death, 9 kills. Great Corki performance. And And TSM played a very smart rotational game, a vision game. When they controlled that top jungle and snuck that Baron, all calculated.
I mean, it seems to be this recurring theme when teams play against TSM. They focus Dyrus because they're thinking, all right, we can kill him. Let's move everything towards that. Yet the rest of TSM always just pulls so far ahead. When we were even in that game, the 3 richest players on the map were on TSM. All the focus was put into shutting down Dyrus. It allowed Wild Turtle, Bjergsen, and Santorin to thrive. And then you look at the end of the game, Dyrus was 0-11 with 40% CDR and a death cap on Lulu. The perfect support Lulu items for supplementing a team in team fights. And again, one team runs Operation Kill Dyrus, TSM runs Operation Win the Game.
A lot of times, Dyrus has been in this situation, and he keeps himself safe. They still focused him when he went down to the bottom lane, and multiple times missed the kill onto that. It's something they're okay with. They play for that moment that's happening, and they're not worried if something goes wrong because they know their plan can still unfold towards the late game.
Yeah, TSM's plan was so smart. I mean, even thinking back to the beginning of Champion Select, where they're like, all right, yeah, first pick Lulu. You camp Dyrus, and they can't expect it to happen. They fight C9ers all the time. They fight CLG, who seems to do it very well as well. Sure, Dyrus, have 166 CS. You're still Lulu. You got level 11 by the end of the game. Who cares? You're fine. You're going to do your job kind of no matter what, and did so.
How about 430 on Bjergsen?
Yeah.
CS distribution is something that so often gets lost because there is only so much CS on the map. So unless that CS is literally dying to turrets, someone on TSM is there to clean it up. And just as far as farm distribution, TSM does it a little bit differently. AD carry-wise, I mean, that CS was going to double lift, but the rest of the team just wasn't there to support him. Like, this isn't to take away anything from CLG. Like, that was an incredibly close and well-played game. But the vision control, the rotations, and the Baron that TSM was able to take is what decided the game. But it's not like that was CLG making a terrible call. TSM just got that slight edge, ran him around for 5 minutes, and realized where the ward hole was.
I think also what was a big thorn in the side of Counterlogic Gaming was, as he was saying, not mistakes, but when they lost that fight in mid lane, that they thought they had the flank on. They thought they got faster. They're faster than Team SoloMid. That'll make you second-guess yourself going into the next fight.
That's something I actually really dislike about Doublelift as a player. I'm a person who really likes looking at item builds and the mathematics behind builds, and he builds so overly defensive. He just doesn't have contribution to the team. And CLG are a team that's used to getting ahead early game. They're used to every 20-minute game they ever play, like, oh, we're up 4,000 gold. And so Doublelift buys a QSS to be like, oh, well, I'm not going to get picked off. So I'm at parity with the enemy AD carry, and I'm not going to die for free to Zed. Well, guess what? Turtle's got more gold than you. If you stop and buy a QSS, he's at way more gold than you. Wild Turtle's going to destroy you in a team
That's like
fight.
one of the things we used to talk back in the day. If he builds an Infinity Edge, you might want to match the damage kind of thing.
Yeah.
Simple.
And that was, I think, a big weakness where CLG took a team fight that they literally could not win. Whether Baron buff timed out or not, they weren't powerful enough yet to take that fight, and you saw what happened.
Nope. So now it's 10-8 in overall matchups between these teams, with TSM pulling away 2-game lead.
2-0 here.
See what CLG can do in the upcoming splits or even towards the playoffs. Let's right now toss it over to Kobe and Zyrene at the Telestrator to help us break down that win.
Thank you, Riv. We are going to break down that game. Congratulations again to TSM, by the way. Really impressive win. So that's going to be 2-0 for them, this split against CLG. And, you know, great pick bans, first picking the Lulu away. Great individual play, especially Bjergsen in the mid lane on that Zed, really bullying Link. But we really should break down one of the team fights. And, of course, the team fight they were just talking about when there was a transition from Dragon over towards the mid lane. Let's pull that one up on the screen here. And we'll walk through this one. Now, everybody remember how we started this? TSM did have the lead and gold. They had just gotten Dragon, and they were trying to make their way to defend the secondary turret. And CLG were deciding if they wanted to try and burn down the turret or actually go for this team fight. And it looks like they got caught in between.
Yeah, they do still have Baron buff up at this time that they got off of a bad back from Doublelift, and so they get the Dragon, and then they start barreling towards this. They don't really have the inside track here, but you start rolling the clip out here, and you're going to see, as they come up, Xmithie's behind them. They're going for a flank here, and Zion Spartan is off on the side. He thinks this is a good time to go in, and he does. Now, pause it here. Right now, Wild Turtle took no damage from that. He is sitting at full HP because Bloodthirster shield, and he immediately got the Lulu shield on top of it. Also, Doublelift is still putting his damage towards the turret. He is not a part of this fight. This is essentially a 3-on-4, and Aphromoo wasn't a part of it until just now, where he walks up for a Howling Gale. Before that, this was all TSM, And Bjergsen is actually soloing Smithy off on the side on that Rek'Sai. So this is not a good fight. Also, Link, he got chunked by eating a big one and R'd into a phosphorus bomb instead of away from it. So he gets chunked out. He walks straight into the big fray here. And the follow-up from this is actually quite beautiful because as soon as they reconvene and Doublelift is like, the turret's done, he gets hit by an amazing Sejuani ultimate from Santorin.
Yeah, the two main things you want to keep track of in this team fight are the two big AoE CCs from both teams. Zion Spartans, which has already been used, and Santorin's, which he holds on to until they regroup up, and then he gets that great AoE. The thing is, CLG weren't able to use Zion's ultimate effectively at all. Neither damage dealer, gets to add much to this team fight. As you said, Doublelift is on the turret, and so that's why everyone's thinking, oh, there's no damage being dealt to TSM during this Kennen ultimate. Because there's a Sejuani sitting in front, and nobody's actually attacking.
Yep. So we can continue to roll the clip out here, and you're going to see Santorin waits for it, and then he's like, oh, perfect. 3 people group up for that ultimate. Link still has Zhonya's Hourglass at this point, but he was chunked below half HP just from the get-go from Wild Turtle landing 2 skill shots back-to-back. Oh, man. Flash just sells your support out there. So Doublelift actually just gets chased down after that, and it's the ace. But that was really the game-turning point. And what allowed that to happen was the Baron taken off of that one ward placed in the middle. Like, replacing your turret with a ward when you push up is so crucial, and a lot of people overlook that, but it's something that paid off immensely there.
Great call by TSM and great execution by TSM. Now, we do have 2 members of TSM ready for an interview, and we're going to hand it over to Dash.
Thank you, gentlemen. Both of you made liars, by the way, in the result of that game. The fans getting it correct in their fan vote, calling you guys to be the victors. So congratulations on that. 2-0 now against CLG. So looking pretty good when it comes to securing that first place slot by the end of the split. There's a couple scenarios that still play out with ties and things like that. I do want to approach something that Zyrene pointed out there first, which was the Baron that you guys secured, which really opened the game up, and that ward placement. So part being fortuitous, but of just the fact that you guys were around the Baron, but you guys showed no hesitation in that call, Bjergsen.
It was actually not me, it was Turtle who was calling out that Jinx had a lot of gold on her. He had kept track of how much gold he had, and he said that he's going to go back and he's going to probably buy Phantom Dancer or QSS here. He said she's going to back and we should do something off of this. So Turtle had been preparing that for about 30 seconds to a minute, and he was like, as soon as she does something, either we go for a turret, we go for a Baron, and then the opportunity just arose, and we went for the Baron. It was just a really good call.
So a lot of foresight there for sure. Now let's go back to the beginning of the game. I want to open it up with an interesting level 1 ward placement, and I don't know if you were aware of this, Darius. You got away right before Link checked that bush with a Q. What was the plan there going in? Because the rest of the team was kind of setting up a line of scrimmage, and you went in for that 1 deep ward at the Krugs.
Well, just like in that moment in the game, I don't even know why I'm here at this desk or there because I just got shafted all game. But anyways, I was just there because they walked in, I put a ward. If he caught me, worst case scenario, I die, but I would have just TP'd out. It would have been fine, but we would have TP disadvantage, but I think having the ward there is really important.
Yeah, it's just since they invaded on our top side and we counter-invaded on bot side, Darius, he went for a really greedy board, but once you get that ward, you can pretty much spot where the jungler is going to start because we have a ward on their side of the jungle and we have a ward on their top side of the jungle. So pretty much anywhere they started, we'd be able to know. So it is a bit greedy and he could have gotten killed, but it also paid off.
Exactly. You guys, your early game there, as you said, you definitely were focused, right? And that was one of the things that was mentioned throughout the cast was the fact that CLG was looking to focus you, Darius. But you, in turn, the rest of the team reacted by Santorin going top. You secured that early first blood on Zion Spartan, which we felt was pretty crucial, at least in terms of getting Wild Turtle a bit ahead. Was that the game plan from the beginning, basically sacrificing top laner and focusing on the other top laner?
It's pretty known that TSM likes to have Darius in his own little world and on his own little island, and I think that just this game we had the opportunity to go for the trades. We had to go. We were able to go for the turret or go for a kill on Zion. And when a Corki gets ahead against Jinx, Jinx is a much later power spike. She really needs 2 randoms to really get going. But when Corki hits the Trinity Force, we hit the Trinity Force before Jinx even hit Infinity Edge, so that was such a big power spike on Corki. So we just took that trade-off where Lulu was going to be weaker, but our Corki was going to be so much stronger at one point in the game.
Another thing is that with Lulu and Kennen, both low econ, they're both pretty similar, but Lulu is a lot more lower econ than Kennen. So I was kind of okay with it, although I did want to, catch the big waves, and we decided not to. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to make do with what I have, 20 CS to 80. No problem, guys, I got this. But it wouldn't be made possible with any other top laner, so it probably would have played out differently. The way Zion likes to play the 2v1 is he wants to get as far ahead as possible, and I guess that's one of the reasons why there was the Zion ban.
Right, so to that effect, though, the Lulu was utilized very well. It was demonstrated in that replay of Wild Turtle with the Bloodthirster, the Lulu Shield, and the Lulu Ultimate. I mean, it almost just in terms of fanciful thought, like I can't imagine the Corki going down at that point, right? So that gave you the security, I imagine, to take a lot of fights that maybe you wouldn't have been able to take with any other top laner, let alone one that then required some kind of an economy.
I don't like that plan, but that's what happened, yeah.
You want the opportunity to do a little bit more damage?
I'd like the opportunity to play League of Legends.
That's fair enough. That's fair. I can't argue with that. So then this begs the question: where do you have to look, like within the meta or in team play and team styles, to be able to support a top laner that will play more aggressively and has the opportunity to maybe play from the get-go, as opposed to scraping together, money for the first 15 minutes?
It's a combination of me calling for the team and being forceful, and depending on what I pick. But it's also a combination of CLG spending a lot of resources to keep me down. They did really, really well in the 2v1 to get double lift on his own island where he can just get fed, and then they tried their best to put Kennen on his own island to get fed, and they set up those two waves while we got a little bit more advantages wherever our AD was, and when it shifted over, it just played out that way.
Bjergsen, thoughts?
It's really just that CLG, in the past, they were a very bottom lane focused team. Everyone says that double lift is the carry. He's always the carry of the team. But the new CLG, I really feel like Zion Spartan is the main focus of the team. They just like getting him ahead. In the 2v1, they really play for him to get ahead. And there's really no reason for us to pick another top lane carry and play into their style. It's much better if we just play our own style instead of playing into theirs. That is their real strength. And it really showed that they did play to the top side of this game, and we still managed to win against it.
Yeah, picking up the Zed there, Bjergsen, just kind of the final thing I want to touch on. We saw an astronomical CS lead there for you in the mid lane. It's been mentioned before, Zed is one of the few mid laners that you can comfortably pick blindly and knowing that you'll still be able to be aggressive in the matchup. How do you feel you're evolving as a mid laner approaching the end of the split here, and your ability to really open up the map for your team with individual plays in the mid lane?
I definitely think I can play other champions on Zed and blind other champions on Zed, but when they're giving us these kind of picks, like Lulu goes very well with Zed, it gives you the magic damage. Same with Corki, it just really opens up the Zed pick overall. Sejuani also great at setting up kills with Zed, so that game, Zed just is a really good pick, and since I'm very comfortable on it, we're very comfortable at playing that comp and playing that comp as a team, I don't see a reason not to pick it. And our pick ban, the champions we play, it does often come up that we play Zed, and it might get a bit predictable, but I think that you can reach the kind of level of play with Zed that as long as your comp is good, even though their comp may be a counter comp, there's always a way to win.
I actually do want to touch on one more thing, and it just came to me because earlier when we spoke to Loco Doco, we asked him, what are the improvements that you guys are going to make to not forfeit such an early lead to CLG? And his response was, well, we just have to play the early game better, right? Obviously, not looking to give away a whole lot of info before the game, prior to the game. So we touched a little bit on the early game, a little bit, and the top lane trade-off strategy, but what other factors did you guys consider in looking to come out with a stronger early game this time around?
Don't look at me. I didn't have a strong early game. I didn't play. Ask him.
All right, Bjergsen.
Like this game, we obviously had a really strong mid lane matchup. Even though they could have gone for the counter pick, Sejuani and Zed always have that kill potential. If Sejuani lands the ult, Zed can pretty much pop really any champion I can think of in the mid lane. So we did have a lot of lanes to play off of, the thresh lane bottom as well. So even though they had the stronger 1 to 6 jungler with Rek'Sai, obviously really strong duelists early on, as soon as we got to level 6 with Sejuani, that's where we really could make the plays. And the game is very different in 2v1, and I think CLG is a very 2v1 focused team right now, and they're very good at it. So maybe if we had the 2v2, it could have been even cleaner.
All right, I like it. But yeah, as you said, you performed well in this 2v1 scenario, which may be more their ballpark. So again, congratulations on that victory, bringing that series between the two of you to 2-0. Best of luck in the coming week as we approach the playoffs. Now, don't touch that dial, because when we come back, we're going to dive into our third game of the day, Team 8 versus Cloud9. Stay with us.
All right, guys, let's get our game face on.
Game pace.
Big lightning storm comes in, and now it's Xmithy off on the side, gets the death mark on him, flashes the wall. Bjergsen chases, looks like he might get the kill, and he will. Out he goes.
That hook being missed. Slicing Maelstrom goes in. It's going to Lustboy locked up as well as Santorin in the middle. But the back line of damage dealers is still able to do what they need to do.
Can he get any more? Maybe not. Wild Turtle fires in. There's the play. W8D2, can he do the damage? The answer is no.
SoloMid will take down Counter Logic Gaming.